Let's talk about sex.
Yeah, buddy.
The honest reality, the many layers there are to it. Why does intimacy get so much focus? And we invite you to stay to the end because we do have a couple action steps that you can take right away, like today.
So we're Sam and Ron with A Perfectly Imperfect Marriage, and we are stoked that you are here with us on this journey. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do, and absolutely like this video. If this topic, sex, interests you.
Who doesn't like talking about sex?
Really, it's not so much the physical intimacy that we're diving into, but really the word intimacy and all of the aspects of the intimate relationship that you and your spouse have with each other.
And let's be honest, the first thing that most people think when they hear the word intimacy is sex.
Boom, chicka wow wow.
Because sex does matter.
It does.
It is important in a relationship, but physical intimacy is just one part.
It is.
It's one part in your relationship of the whole intimacy dynamic.
The dynamic.
Wow. So we want to dig into that a little bit further. Why is it so big? Because physical intimacy is visible. But intimacy, the foundation of your relationship, it's in all the little and big things in every day with your spouse.
The physical intimacy is measurable. Like it either happened or it didn't happen. It's one
of
those
math.
things.
It's right or it's wrong.
Yes, I agree with that. Where emotional intimacy, for example, there's some more minutia. It's not as measurable. If it's there, but you can't measure it the same as physical intimacy.
We heard this phrase, and it was very short and very simple, but if you think for a moment on it, you can see the layers behind it. And it was, into me you see. And that was one definition of many that we heard for intimacy. And it really helps us to launch off where we're going to go with this. And that's, intimacy includes emotional, spiritual, experiential. I had to write that word down. Intellectual, and of course, physical.
Yes.
We're going to dig into each one of those as we go along to really help you understand how important intimacy is as a whole, not just the physical part that comes straight to mind when we talk about this.
Absolutely.
Why does physical get so much focus?
Well, it's in our face all the time, between TV, movies, billboards, music.
Everywhere.
We've all heard the phrase sex sells.
Yes.
So it's just, it's an easy piece of the whole intimacy puzzle to share. And I think also a good chunk of it is, many of these other layers of intimacy are not visible. They're visible in your relationship and how you interact with each other, but physical is out there for everybody to see.
And really, I think you just touched on it. It's how we are interacting with each other. If you're not talking, if you're in roommate syndrome, if you are working all the time, if you have kids and you're, a go lifestyle, which so much of us lead right now, it's all about that interaction. Physical intimacy is the spark. Emotional intimacy is the oxygen. And you do need both.
Yeah, no fire is going to burn without oxygen. So, we need to have that regular source of oxygen in order for the fire to burn long term. Your marriage is playing the long game. So we're not looking for that, the way things were when you first got together was great. But, as life happens, how do we maintain that type of intensity for the long haul? And really it's, understanding these other pieces of the intimacy dynamic.
And I just wanted to point out too, you're talking about how it was in the beginning, the fire, the in your face, the heat, the smoke, you could see it all. Where the oxygen is the quiet that you can't necessarily see. It's not tangible. You can't grab onto it, but there's so much of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that brings us back to that little things and big things you do every day, throughout the day, throughout the week, month, year. I just thought there was a good connection to all of that with the oxygen and the spark.
How's it
go? So defining the dynamic layers of intimacy. We started with emotional. And emotional is sharing with each other, having those conversations, disappointments, wins, being able to share without feeling like your spouse is not going to reciprocate, or they're not going to react the way you want. They're not going to understand you. You want to feel heard. You want to be understood. So that's the emotional side of intimacy.
If you don't feel emotionally safe or emotionally respected, if you don't feel an emotional rapport with your spouse, it's going to impact every other aspect of intimacy, but it's going to directly impact physical intimacy. When you guys aren't connected on an emotional level, then it makes it very difficult to connect honestly and genuinely and transparently on all levels.
Yeah. This is our little 5-minute weekly check-in. If you haven't started this yet, this is an invitation to sit down and have that first conversation. It might be more than 5 minutes if this is the first one, but maybe actually, we're going to touch on this at the end. I'm getting ahead of ourselves.
You are, but that's okay. If you've spent any time with us, we're big on the check-ins. So we are going to touch on the check-in again.
Yes, which moves us into the spiritual side, which is another number one. We say this in probably every video, a suggestion: pray together.
Absolutely. And pray together out loud.
Yes.
In the beginning, it's going to feel weird. It's going to feel awkward. You're going to come up with every excuse not to. But when you guys pray together out loud, you're breaking down some barriers. You're creating an atmosphere of humility and gratitude. You're growing together now spiritually, which is increasing your spiritual intimacy with each other. You're edifying one another, and you're creating an atmosphere where real not only growth, but connection happens.
Alignment.
It's alignment.
I was waiting to throw that word in there because everything that you were just sharing, I just kept hearing alignment. You're aligning together spiritually, emotionally, and as we keep going in some other ways, but you are in essence becoming one biblically.
Yes.
Which is the goal.
Yes.
So through all of this, you are aligning yourselves together. Team, shoulder to shoulder. I had to throw that in there.
I'm good with that. But on that same token, let's look at experience and how did you say it? Experiential?
Experiential.
Intimacy.
That's a fancy word.
Plays a role in this as well. And those are shared experiences and the memories that you guys are creating together on this journey. And that plays a role in the intimacy dynamic as well.
And that also, your experiences, and this is weird because I didn't think of this till this moment. So it's not really weird, but it's good. It leads into the intellectual connection. So your experiences are helping you learn and grow, which will help with the intellectual side. Listening without correcting, being curious instead of defensive, which, listen, it doesn't matter how much you work at this. Once in a while, these things are still going to slip in there. You know, our goal as Christians is to be non-offendable, but we get offended sometimes. So we're not immune to that either. It does happen. But the goal is to be able to have a conversation through it and come out on the other side of it where you're both learning and growing still, and your bond is still just as strong. You're still aligned.
So a big portion of this intellectual intimacy is being curious. You know, we don't want to be judgmental. We don't want to shut our spouse down when we're having a conversation. Be curious. You know, how did you come up with that idea or point of view? And when your spouse feels safe that they can have these conversations with you, again, it's impacting so many other parts of this intimacy dynamic. You know, your emotional intimacy is so tied to all of these things. When your intellectual intimacy is strong, when you feel safe that you can share anything, and even if you don't agree, but that there's a reciprocation and an honesty and a genuine curiosity, it's going to impact the physical intimacy as well, which is kind of where we started.
Yes.
Boom chicka wow.
Because we end up in places where, and at different times in your marriage, depending on your 5 years in, 10 years in, 30, 40 years in, you know, kids have left the house. As we get older, there's going to be times where it ebbs and flows, where we might be having personal difficulties, like maybe with your job or your parents are, you know, aging and health issues. And one of you may be having an okay time with life and you want to keep that bow chicka wow wow going, and the other person may be struggling and may not be able to. So there's going to be those ebb and flows. One is not emotionally available for that, where the other one wants it. You're going to have to meet in the middle and work through this together. And you will come out on the other side as long as you're working together side by side to get through that, as we say, season.
The conversation has to happen. This is where those check-ins, is this time for the check-ins? I'm putting the check-ins here. But this is where those check-ins are so relevant and so impactful. You know, at least once a week, check in with your spouse and ask them, you know, where are you at emotionally? Where are you at mentally? Where are you at spiritually? How can I better serve you? How can I better support you? What's going on?
And when your spouse asks that, you have to be honest.
Yeah. You can't say, everything's fine.
I'm good.
Yeah, we're good. It's all good.
There's been times where I've done that. There's been times where you've done that.
We all do it. And sometimes it's true. Like, everything could be good. But
if it's not, it's not good for your relationship to do that.
So let's go with some practical takeaways that ideally you can utilize right away. Some actionable steps that you and your spouse can incorporate today. And ideally, you know, this is going to facilitate some conversation and really start strengthening that intimacy.
And so the first question, and yes, this means it's time for you to sit down and have a conversation. There's 2 questions because you want to really dig into these a bit with each other. And maybe you don't know the answers right away. Maybe the question is put out there and you say, okay, now let's put it on the schedule on our calendar to come back tomorrow night, or, you know, whatever. But get the questions out there so that you can start having this conversation. And the first question I would say is, in regard to your intimacy, and we've touched on the different areas, where do you feel weakest right now together? Is it the spiritual, intellectual, emotional? Which area do you feel like you're weakest together as a team and you need to grow?
And talk about it. You know, see how you can strengthen it. See how you guys can agree on a plan of attack. Don't use this as a barrier. Use it as an opportunity to grow together.
Absolutely. And then, because you don't always want it to just be a negative, you want one where you want to grow and one where you're winning. where do you feel the most connected right now? Because you have both. We always all have both. We're always working to grow together, but we also have many wins.
Definitely. So celebrate the wins, encourage each other, lean into what is working, and, continue to grow, continue to take next steps, continue to edify each other, continue to fight for each other, pray for each other. You guys have to be each other's biggest advocate.
Yep. And remember, yes, sex is wonderful. The guys definitely think it the most. There are us women out there too. I agree. But it is important. It is important, but it is not the most important. When you work on all these other things, it will just be natural.
And your physical intimacy is going to get better as each of these other aspects strengthen. As you guys are more aligned in every aspect of intimacy, it makes the nookies better.
The nookies.
I'm sticking with it.
Yes, I agree. So on that note, we're going to end there. So you've got your challenge for this week. I would start today. Absolutely. Are those two questions. Where do you guys struggle and need to grow? And where are you winning and strongest?
Keep crushing it.
Until the next video.
All right, we'll see you guys soon.
Bye.